All right. If you don't mind introducing yourself and letting us know what industry you worked in.
My name's Griffen Ray. I was the manager of the Speedy Carwash here in Stillwater, Oklahoma for about a year, a little over a year.
Awesome. Was being a manager something that you aspired to do or something that more happened by circumstance?
I've always wished to be in a position of higher management. I did not expect to get that management position. It just kind of came up. I didn't strive to be in that one.
Yeah. Do you think it is a position that will help you in your future management endeavors?
Oh, yes. I learned a lot. A lot better multitasking skills.
How would you define your management style?
Laid back when laid back when it's time to rest, but when we need to get work done, it's get serious time. I think your management style really depends on what you're managing. Whereas at the car wash, there was a lot of downtime where there wasn't a need to be on people's case, and that kind of, I learned, get your employees a little angry with you. You gotta know when it's time to be nice and when it's time to be boss. Working at the restaurant in the past, we had managers that were always on our case, but we were in a very busy work environment. We had to go. They pushed us where we needed to be.
Is the timing a challenge that you found while managing people, or were there other challenges that you faced?
Timing as in
managing people during their off time versus managing them whenever there's a big burst of busy. Like, was that really hard for you to figure out, like, oh, these people are in their downtime, maybe I shouldn't bother them as much, versus whenever you had a bunch of cars going through?
So when we didn't have cars going through and it was kind of like a slower time, we weren't in a rush, we would go around the wash and find things to do. But when it comes to that, I found the best way is to lead by example. When we're not doing anything, I would always go and start a project and they would come and help me with it. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, we're not doing anything right now, go clean the walls, go scrub the lot, go take out the trash. It was, oh, well, we're sitting around right now, let's go do this, let's go do that. And they'll come with you. No one wants to be thought of as the lazy person. So if you make it seem like you're doing which you should be doing just as much work, they'll stick with you and work just as hard, if not harder.
Did you ever have any conflict that arose between your employees?
Yes. Scheduling. Some people didn't want to work, and we needed people to work. That's always an issue. You just got to work around it or find other people. We ended up having to hire on a new attendant to deal with some of those issues. I also had issues with other managers sometimes. My co-manager, we would butt heads every now and then, and we would have to figure out the situation without killing each other.
Were there any specific techniques that you used, or was it just a situational instance for each one?
Situational instance. You get to learn people and how they react to different things, especially how they react whenever you watch their interactions with a customer. If they're really well mannered, if they have a short fuse, and you can kind of figure out how to deal with that. Some people, you gotta talk their problems out of them. They don't want to tell you anything. You gotta make sure they know, like, hey, this is a safe place and I can help you,
Yeah. What have you found works best when motivating your employees? Do you say it's more of like you're leading by example?
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. It was always me going to start something, and they would, hey, let's go help,
Yeah. Do you think building that more of a personal relationship with your employees and even your co-manager helped with situations as well, especially in a more laid-back environment such as a car wash?
Yes. In such a laid-back environment, I think it works because it is a laid-back environment. If you're in something a little bit busier and people are a little bit more lax all the time, you can kind of start to have issues with work ethic.
Definitely.
People not respecting you enough. You know, we were slow enough. It wasn't truly too hard of manual labor. We could, you know.
So it was easy for you to find a mix of task-based leadership and relationship-based leadership. Yes. I guess that's honestly the perfect situation for a car wash, because whenever you have the busy times, you have the task-based leadership, and then in the downtime, you can really build that relationship task-based. Have you found that some personalities are easier to motivate than others? For example, like introverted people versus extroverted people?
Yes. Yeah. That's kind of goes back to the whole someone who I would say, I'm not going to say they have a bad work ethic, but at the car wash, you have to go talk to people. You have to have a smiling face. That's part of getting rid of that introvert or
introvertedness, shyness.
Yeah, it's part of getting rid of that introverted personality. You can't just sit in the office all day. Like you have to walk outside, you have to smile, you have to talk to guests, you have to help them. So it's kind of like you're always in. You're putting on that fake smile like a server. Hi, how can I help you? How are you today, ma'am? You know, just doing it even if you've got good and bad days. And we had a couple attendants that were very to themselves, and you got to say, hey, man, I need you to open up. I need you to smile. I need you to be more involved. Like, you know.
Have you noticed that it's you've run into the majority of your challenges when dealing with introverted attendants and customer service, or do you think that depending on your management style that people can bring it out of them?
I think depending on your management style, you can bring it out of them. I do think there's some times where it's not worth it.
Definitely.
Some people have to learn by losing a job that they have to hold certain standards, you know. Sometimes you can push someone and well, not push them, but try and lead them to the right direction. You can lead a horse to water, you can't force them to drink, you know.
Definitely. And how did your past experience, you've mentioned working in a restaurant in the past, did that help you for preparing for managing people at all?
Yes. Whenever I worked in the restaurant industry, I had managers that were great. I had managers that were horrible. Like I said, working in the restaurant industry, I had good managers, bad managers. I had managers that I didn't feel like they were involved. Managers that I only saw them at the beginning of the shift or at the end of the night. It's like they wanted to sit in the office all day and never come see what's going on. They never built relationships with us. They would come out and then get on to someone and be surprised when they're retaliating. Like, you can't just come with that attitude of, I am even though you are, you know, and what your word says goes. You can't just come up and say, I'm boss, listen to me, you know, do this, or you're gone. That doesn't hold people. You'll get a bad reputation with your staff. You don't want people getting hired on and the people around to say, you know, he's horrible. You don't want to be the boss that people are warned about.
Definitely. I've been in situations like that as well. And having to deal with that whenever you were working at the restaurant, did that change your views on how you wanted to eventually manage people whenever you got into that position?
Yes, like I said, you got to find the balance between let's work and let's relax a little bit, you know. And I think that's also a case by case with person. Like you said earlier, the difference between introverted employees and extroverted employees, it's a different environment. You got to get to know them, understand how they work, understand what motivates them. Some people are just atypical people. They want to go get the task done now, get it over with, and then relax. Some people want to just spread it out. Some people want to, you know.
Definitely. How affected is your team's dynamic by the addition or subtraction of team members?
For us at the car wash, it was detrimental. We didn't have too many team members in the first place. So each team member was a big part. We at times had 5 or 6, and at times there was 3 of us, and that was it. And to run a full work week, 7 days a week, and the full days, morning shifts, closing shifts, midday shifts, I mean, you need people, and you need people that are good too. We hired a few people that they were a mess.
Do you think that it's important to let your employees know that they are important to the company and important to the overall logistics of the day-to-day operations? Like, do you think that employees want to know that their managers and everyone cares pretty much?
Oh yeah. Again, part of that relationship aspect, but that also like helps drive people. If you're
Definitely.
proud of what you do, you're going to do better at it no matter what. For us, we also work in an industry where you get tips. So the more work you put in, the more effort, the more cars you pull through, the bigger the smile you have. You're going to get incentives to have that better attitude and push harder. So
Definitely. Well, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today,
It was
Griffen.
awesome.
I really appreciate it, and I think Dr. Ballard will